Let's explore the thriller genre. Hello, fellow book nerds. This is Gabby, and today is start of a new vlog. I'm so excited. This is kind of a vlog slash recommendation series slash just like a discussion piece all about thrillers. I want to explore all the thriller subgenres. I love thrillers. I read so many of them. I have so many great recommendations for you on all of these genres, but also just wanted to understand, I say I love a thriller, but there's so many different types of thrillers. So I want to explore all of the subgenres, talk about it with you. So we're going to talk about 7 different types of thrillers. We're going to go through each type of thriller, read one book that fits the description, talk about it, and then also I'll recommend you a bunch of other thriller books that fit that subgenre so that you can figure out what thriller is perfect for you. I hope you enjoyed the concept. I really hope you have fun with me. Let's kick it off. First up, we have House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I am so excited to read this, and I love the cover. Can't see it, but it kind of looks like... Can you see? Yes, you can see it. It's got like water on it. I know very little. I know this is about a stalker. So it's a woman whose neighbors live across the lake, and she's got like binoculars and shit and is stalking them basically. I'm excited. I've had mixed results with Riley Sager, but I'm excited. I loved Home Before Dark. This was his newest, so I'm curious what it has to bring me. I'm meant to be reading this, but I just spent 10 hours rewatching the first season of Shadowhunters. I've seen it before. I put it on thinking, I'll clean. I won't get sucked in. I've seen it all before. Here we are, 1 a.m., 10 hours later. 0 pages. This is a great interlude, but we're back to thrillers soon. Alright, let's talk about the mystery thriller. So, here are some things that I consider important when crafting a mystery thriller. So, we have to have a hook at the beginning. Usually, a murder happened, something happened, something dramatic and out of this world, not out of this world, out of the law world. So something bad happened, and we start off with that, start off with a bang, and then you go back, you find out how they get here. That is an important question. I think they need to have good atmosphere. Not all mystery thrillers, but I feel like you have to have that suspense and that wondering, and you want to kind of discover what's happening as you go kind of vibe. Then kind of going back, like that central mystery that you are in that you're introduced to at the beginning has to fuel the whole plot, and the whole point is getting to uncover this mystery. Mystery thrillers usually have narrative momentum that's building, so it starts slow where we're getting to know everyone, and as the suspense builds up, as it ramps up and you find out what happened, you keep getting faster scenes, faster dialogue, just like bomb, 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 you go. At least that's a good murder mystery. That's what I enjoy. Of course, you need some good foreshadowing, you need some good red herrings to throw you off the base, and it's all about those little clues left for you. I think what makes it like a mystery thriller rather than just a mystery is that unease, and the reader must feel suspense and feel concern for the characters. There's an impending danger, maybe there's a ticking clock, there's something that you're waiting towards, and usually it's to the lead up to the day where the big thing happened. Of course, not all mystery novels will have all of these things. Not all mystery thrillers will have all of these elements. A very popular one that doesn't always exist in all of them is an unreliable narrator. We went through a whole phase when it was a drunk woman. I don't know, that was like a very popular plot device, but we kind of, I feel like, maybe moved away from that a little bit. Yeah, not all of them will of course have these, and doing research for this video, I realized all of these have so many overlaps that it's kind of hard to define. So don't be like mad at me for being like, oh, but you said this is a mystery thriller. Actually, it's a psychological thriller. I don't know. Okay, this is just on vibes. I exist for vibes. But we can talk about an actual mystery thriller that I read to see if what I just said even makes sense. So I did finish The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. So in this one, we follow a woman who is an actress. Her mom was also a very famous theater actress, and the main character is known as the troubled one in that relationship. I think a year ago or 6 months ago or something like that. She was vacationing at this lake house with her husband, and he drowned. And now it's 6 months later. She comes back filled with grief and an alcoholic, and is devastated by his loss. But this new couple moves into the house across the lake, and it's a famous supermodel with her techie boyfriend, and the main character gets obsessed with watching their house and like seeing what they're up to, and then she thinks there's something nefarious going on with the two of them. I'm not gonna lie, for like the first, I want to say 200 pages, I was like, this is a little bit basic. It's a little bit like, it's easy to read, it's nice to read, like you're getting through it, you're having fun, but it's not like you're mind blowing. It's not like you're mind blown or anything different happens. It felt so reminiscent of those in that inebriated woman watches people or thinks something's happening, trying to, sleuth out the answer. That's another very important part of a mystery thriller. You need to have a sleuth, you need to have someone trying to solve the mystery who's not a professional. But this book really takes a turn about 150 pages from the end, give or take, okay, like 100 pages, I don't know. The last 100 pages, 150 pages were actually a really an interesting choice that made it different, made it stand out, which really appealed to me. It had really good suspense writing. The plot twist, the big plot twist was I didn't see coming. The small plot twists I definitely could see from a mile away. So it was interesting because you feel like you definitely know what's happening, and that's kind of happening. But there's also like this whole other thing, and that's the favorite thing about mystery thrillers, right? You have the situation, you think you know what's going on, and then bam, the answer is actually 150, 180 turn, and you don't know what's happening. So House Across the Lake gets 3.5 from me. It's really solid. If you're interested, give it a shot. It's different from other Riley Sager's books. I think my favorite from him is still Home Before Dark, but that's more of a horror. So yeah, if you want to check it out, do. And I wanted to just give a couple other examples and recommendations from me on mystery thrillers. So we have Gone Girl, a classic about a missing woman whose husband perhaps gets accused of murdering her. The Girl on the Train, this one is about a woman who is also an alcoholic, rides the same train every morning to work, and sees a crime happen when she's on the train. And it's kind of like, it takes an unreliable narrator very seriously with the whole drunk thing. Here, I feel like the drunkenness could have been even more of an impact, you know? Then we have Silent Patient, which is a book about a woman who killed her husband and is now in a psychiatric ward and refuses to say a word. Then we have The Paris Apartment. It's about a woman who goes to Paris to visit her brother in his apartment, and he just up and disappears. A History of Wild Places is a very interesting one. It's maybe not so like high stakes fast thriller. I feel like all the other ones I've recommended so far are pretty basic. You know, you've got your unreliable narrator, you've got a big hook with a crime, and you work backwards to figure out what happened. Whereas this one, it's still got that a little bit of a hook thing, but it's very heavy on the mystery. We have a man who can see history from objects, who is trying to find a girl who disappeared many years ago. It's kind of a cult book. It's pretty good and really interesting. And then we have The Ivies, which is a YA mystery thriller actually, but we have the main character who's part of this elite group in their school called the Ivies because they want to go to Ivy schools, and a murder happens and she needs to figure out if one of her friends might have done it for getting into the right school. And the last one I wanted to recommend was His and Hers. This one is a really cool one about a murder in a small town and cop and a reporter who go to investigate it. So those are my recs for mystery thrillers. I'm very excited to jump into our next genre, which will be historical thrillers. So let's kick it off with an arc that I have of Murder of a Mystery Girl. I don't know what it's about. I have literally no clue. I like the cover. I requested it. I got it. So I'll talk to you when I actually read it. Alright, time for historical fiction, thriller slash sci-fi thriller. Somehow it ended up being both. So I read Murder for the Modern Girl by Kendall Kulper. I think it's like 1920s or something, and we follow a girl who's kind of like this socialite, daughter of the main attorney, whatever the title is, and she has a superpower. She can read people's minds. And then our second character is this boy working in a morgue, and he can transform into anyone because he has like transmutation skills, let's call it. So basically the main character, the girl, kills bad men so she can read their minds, and if she deems them irredeemable, she kills them. And the boy starts investigating, and we kind of have a plot from there. I love this book. I don't know how much of a thriller it was. I mean, definitely it was like in some parts towards the end, but I would call it more of a I don't know, like, I don't know. It was just so much fun though. It was really fast paced, really like vibrant. The characters were really fun and you really get to know them. Their chemistry was really good. And overall it was just this beautiful story of finding yourself and people, your people and aiming for more. It was quite tense in terms of like there were gangsters, there was a assassination plot, we were uncovering things, there was a murder investigation, we were the murderer. It was all very dramatic. But I seriously loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It was so much fun. And I think it's really, I've never heard anyone talk about it. I only knew about it because it had a fun cover, so I requested it as an arc. And it was so much fun. So let's go into some recommendations. So for historical thriller, honestly, I didn't read that many. So I think Agatha Christie is something that kept coming up, although that's not really historical because the time she wrote it, it was current time. I had 2 recommendations for historical and sci-fi, which is what this is, or sci-fi fantasy. I don't know, like superpowers kind of say stuff. So The Diviners by Libba Bray is a story about a group of people in 1920s have magical powers or like supernatural powers, using it to uncover a murder mystery as well. And then 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Castle is a type of a Groundhog Day thing where this person wakes up every day in a different body and they have to solve a murder of Evelyn Hardcastle. Again, it's like a historical. And I thought, since we're already here, let's talk about some sci-fi recommendations. So a good one would be Dark Matter. I didn't love it, but it was pretty interesting, and I've heard like sci-fi fans really love it, so maybe it was just me. But that one's about a man who, I don't remember about this. I think his family like forgets who he is or something like that. And Scythe is a really good one. So that one is about a world where people stopped dying. So we had these things called Scythe who have to glean people, aka kill them, and we follow apprentices. Project Hail Mary, amazing book about a man who wakes up in space and he doesn't remember why he's there, but he's the only alive on the ship. All Systems Red is book number 1 in Murderbot series. So that one is about an android, or like whatever you want to call it, who starts having independent thoughts and has to uncover like a plot. I don't remember exactly. The 5th season is a really good one. I don't know how to describe it. It's about a world where people have superpowers, and that superpower is to control the world, and they can explode unexpectedly. Hunger Games, amazing sci-fi thriller. If I can say so myself, I'm going through a whole renaissance. If you don't know what Hunger Games is, it's about a dystopian world where a bunch of teenagers have to kill each other in an arena. And I would say Dune is also a good one. I don't know if it's so much a thriller, but I guess it is. It's about this young Duke's son whose father gets murdered and he has to escape. But it's quite a fantastical world. So those are some good recs if you want your thriller with a little side of the unexpected, I guess. So when I said I'm reading thriller books, I just like straight up lied. So I finished the Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, Richard Osman, which was gonna be an opportunity for me to talk about crime thrillers. And this is a crime book or like a crime novel, like mystery novel, but it's mystery, it ain't a thriller. It really was not thrilling in that sense. But I still had a good time with it, so let me just tell you a little bit about it. So in this one, we follow like an old retirement house where we have a bunch of pensioners trying to solve old cold cases. So there's like 4 of them. They meet every Thursday. They're for a Thursday murder club. They go through old cases and try to solve them. There's a current murder that happens on the retirement community. They try to solve this. So it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing where they have like the detectives working it, you have multi-POV, you hear from all the pensioners, you hear from, some of the suspects, and it's kind of like a multi-perspective slow unraveling of what's happening. It was fun. I gave that 3 stars. Honestly, I found it a little bit underwhelming because in the end it really was not thrilling. It reminded me so much of Agatha Christie, who is the queen of the mystery novel, and maybe this is kind of an alright rec for this video. If you like want a crime mystery, this is good. Agatha Christie, where the detective sits down the people, explains to them basically what happened, and that's the thrill of it. Maybe there's like a scuffle or something, but that's where the thrill comes from. That's what this book reminded me of. It was okay. I've heard that the sequel is much better because the author is kind of still finding himself. I would recommend this if you want something easy, quick to read, and kind of interesting, but no, if you want a thriller, don't make the mistakes I did. If I were to define the crime genre, I think, what you need is a crime, you need a detective or a sleuth, and the whole thing needs to kind of revolve around the crime. I think that's kind of what sets off the plot of the book, and by the end we'll resolve the... I know that it's pretty similar to a mystery novel. I'm starting to see where this video might go wrong, but it's just an excuse to read a bunch of thrillers, so don't be too hard on me. They are all very, very similar, and they have so many overlaps, and no one really knows which one is exactly which. Having a bit of a hard time thinking of crime books, crime thrillers that I could recommend to you. I thought I read loads, but apparently I didn't. But a couple would be The Maid by Nita Prose, where we follow a maid and a hotel, and there's a crime, and I think the main character is meant to be coded as autistic, but I don't think the author is. So it was a bit of a rocky rec there, but it was a pretty good book. I would recommend A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. That series is great. We follow a teenage kind of sleuth detective who undercovers a crime from many years ago for her school project. The Guest List by Lucy Foley was pretty good. I did love it. I really did like The Drive by Jane Harper. I don't entirely remember what that one's about, but I think there's like a murder and a draught, and it was really well written. I think anything you read by Lee Child will be a safe bet. I have my boyfriend's grandma who loves Lee Child and reads everything by him, and she is a massive crime reader, so if she enjoyed it, I'm sure you will too. I might have read something by him, but I'm not sure. Then, of course, I think The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, or anything by Dan Brown, is really good. My favorite was Angels and Demons and The Da Vinci Code. Once you start reading too many of them, they all kind of are the same. So just choose the best ones, read those, and don't go back there. The Family Upstairs was pretty good. I think that's by Lisa... No, I didn't like that one. The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hopkins is a retelling of Jane Eyre, but it is a thriller. And that is it. I'm sure I read some other crime books, but I'm apparently very terrible at my job. Well, this is not my job, so thank God for that. But yeah, I'm gonna read more of these. But recommend me some good crime thrillers. I'm sure I've read so many where you have a detective and solving a crime and you go for it and it's all fun, but I just can't think of any. And I'm so sure I've read some, but how, where, what, I don't know. it's been days, if not weeks. My life went interesting. I have moved, so I don't know if I even teased this or whatsoever. Maybe I've spoken about this, but I moved. I'm in a new place. The bookshelf, we had to rent a van mainly because of the bookshelf, but it was all worth it. So I had to rearrange it a little bit. Overall, the move was really good, although it was stressful, and it was also the exact same time I decided to change my job. So that was kind of like a bit of a wild time. I'm figuring out the job stuff. I'm really excited about what it's going to bring to me, but all of that together was just so stressful. But we're back on track. We're back in this vlog. I'm ready to read. I am excited to read. So let's talk about Daphne by Josh Malerman. So this is for the horror thriller category. I think that a lot of horrors are thrillers, but maybe not all of them. So I just wanted to tell you about some of my favorites. But I did decide to read Daphne for this. So I didn't even pick up this book specifically for this video. I got this book from my library because Books and Lala liked it, and I was like, I copy everything she does, so I'm gonna like it too. But no, she made me want to pick it up. The library got it, and I was like, maybe I should include it in my thriller vlog. And I think it was a pretty good choice. So this one is by the author of like Bird Box, if you have heard of that, and some quite iconic horror slash thrillers. But in this one, we follow a basketball team in this small town. So it's a girls' basketball team, and they hear the story of Daphne. So Daphne is something of a local legend. She's the 7 foot tall Kiss fan woman who died of asphyxiation in a car, but she didn't kill herself. She was murdered. And it became like a local legend, but at the same time, no one ever talks about her. So she's kind of this taboo topic that you're not meant to talk about, but then everyone kind of knows her name in their bones in this small town. So the basketball team, actually, one of the players hears about her, tells the story to the whole team. And what you're not meant to do is think about Daphne, because once you think about Daphne, she'll come and kill you. And so that's kind of the premise of this. So we follow the basketball team as they try not to get killed by Daphne. I really like this. Honestly, it was so tense. It was so well written. It was so scary and gruesome. It was everything you might want in a horror, except the ending was so shite. I'm sorry, but it just fizzled out. It was like building and building and building. You have this tension, and it's just so good, and you feel it, and you're like, yes, yes, yes. I'm so like, what's gonna happen? I'm so scared. And then that's what happens. Happens. So that was a bit disappointing. I did still really enjoyed it. I think I would give it like 3.5 stars, 4 for 99% of it, and then the ending itself like a 2. So it's like a 3.5, I would say. Like overall, it was a really good book, and I did have a really good time with it. So I would highly recommend this for horror. If you still like, if you want to check it out, I would still really recommend it. It's very thrilling, very good in that suspense element of horror. So I would still very, very much recommend this. But some other books that I would recommend in the horror category of thriller would be Home Before Dark and Final Girls. So both are by Riley Sager. So Home Before Dark is about this family that moves into a haunted house, maybe. And then we have Final Girls, which is about kind of the concept of a final girl and trying to outlive a slasher killer. When No One Is Watching is also really good. So that one's kind of like a commentary horror thriller. So we follow a black woman who has no choice but to sign up for some medical experiments in order to earn some cash. And kind of it's a commentary on how people of color have been treated throughout the years in the medical field, but also just kind of used as guinea pigs. The Only Good Indians is really, really good. So that one's by an indigenous author, and it's really weird and disjointed the way it's written, but it's kind of meant to be that way, and it's very, very creepy and unsettling. So you have like a bunch of men that killed a deer, and the deer is getting revenge. It's very weird, but it's really scary, very tense. I don't know if Mexican Gothic counts, but I guess I would definitely count Mexican Gothic in the horror category. I guess it's a thriller. It's a bit of a mystery, it's a bit of a thriller, but it's a really good one. That's really creepy, especially if you have a thing for being scared of mushrooms like me. I mean, like, I like mushrooms to eat, but I hate fungus. So this one is about a woman in 1980s or something who goes to visit her cousin who just got married, and weird things started happening. Then I would also recommend Into the Drowning Deep. So that one is for you mermaids fans out there, which is also me, who filming like a mockumentary or a documentary about paranormal goes missing. And then 5 years ago or 3 years ago, something like that, another ship gets sent out to find out what happened to them and make another documentary. And it has mermaids, killer mermaids. So I really, really like that one. It's meant to have a sequel, but I don't think that's coming. So if you're okay with kind of unfinished stories, I would give it a shot. If you're not, then don't do it to yourself. I also really liked Horrid. So this book is about a girl who kind of eats books. She has this condition where you like eat things that aren't food, and it's about her and her mother moving to her mother's childhood home, and weird things start happening. And while we're on the topic, I would actually say that anything from what's his name? Oh, Grady Hendrix. I've almost showed you this one, but that's not Grady Hendrix. Anything from Grady Hendrix is also a great recommendation. Horror Store was really good horror thriller, quite quick to read. So Horror Store is about IKEA-like shop and think people start getting murdered after hours. Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires is about a local book club filled with stay-at-home moms killing vampires. The Final Girl Support Group is a really good one in terms of like being a proper thriller as well, a horror thriller. That one is about a bunch of women who are kind of the archetype of the final girl, so survived a massacre, and now they have a support group where they can support each other, but then they start dying one by one. And yeah, anything from it that you pick up is really good, and you're gonna have a good time. So yeah, those are the horror books I want to recommend to you. I finished another book, so time to talk about it. Okay, I finished The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. Okay, so in this one we follow a woman who wants to be a writer, currently works in academic publishing, but she doesn't feel like that fulfills her. She wants to be a writer. And the big crux of her character, I guess, is that she had a best friend. This woman is 30, by the way. She had a best friend, but they fell out and they're not talking to each other anymore. So when one of her good friends secures her a place at this writing retreat with a very famous author called Rosa something, she jumps at the opportunity to go to this woman's house for like a month in a secluded location and, work on the book. Then basically figure out maybe this is a bit dodgy and there's something going on with this woman. But of course, we don't know for sure. Oh, and the ex-best friend also comes on the trip. So that's part of the drama. I gotta say, I loved it. I thought it was so good. It was so well written. It was really tense. And I'm glad I chose it for the psychological thriller because it does fit. I feel like it does such a good job. So psychological thrillers often incorporate elements of mystery, include themes of crime, morality, mental illness, substance abuse, multiple realities, or a dissolving sense of reality and unreliable narrator. For me, a psychological thriller is not even just about, it's not like, oh no, people are flying off like dying like flies, or oh no, there's a crime, we need to figure it out. It's more about that psychological torture as well as the unreliable and all of that. But I feel like mystery thrillers also do that. But to me, it's also about the psychological toll, I guess, that this whole ordeal is taking, and maybe more psychological games that the killer or whoever the tormentor is playing. Like for me, no one even needs to die in a psychological thriller. It's more about the psychological toll that the perpetrator is taking, I guess. So that's just a personal opinion. And I think The Writing Retreat is such a great example of this because it's not one of those, oh no, we get to a location, someone dies, and then we slowly start dropping off like flies all of a sudden. It's not one of those. It's more about the slow unraveling of the situation, what's happening, everyone's motivations. I really enjoyed that. I really, really, really liked the writing bit. So obviously this is a writing retreat, so everyone's like writing their books and they're talking about the books and they're talking about what to improve, and there's excerpts from the book they're writing or the main character is writing. And there's also like this kind of a ghost story associated with this place they're staying in. Just so many interesting elements. I was like, I don't even need people to start dying or anything. I am so intrigued and so interested. And this was just honestly really well done. I had a great time. I would say this book was super tense, really well written, had compelling but messy characters, was a little bit over dramatic and really over the top, I guess, in like what happened, but like, I loved it. And like the people were almost cartoonishly kind of twiddling their thumbs, but like the protagonist was a bit morally ambiguous. I like it all. It really reminds me of The Last Housewife. No, that's not the one. In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. It reminds me of In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. It's just a little bit ridiculous, a little bit over the top, but really amazing. It's so well written. I am so excited for Books and Lala's, Kayla's live show where they're going to talk about it, because I'm ready to talk about it with someone. And I'm really happy I read it for this video at the perfect time to talk about it. But yeah, I loved it, gave it 5 stars, and like go read it. Like I really enjoyed this type of thriller. I think it's just so fascinating. To me, like the psychological bit of like the tension is even better than like the killing or anything like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I had a good time. I really hope you do too if you pick it up. But let's talk about some psychological thriller recommendations I had for you. Apparently, tangled or elaborately constructed plots are very common with this genre, which is why it appeals to the human intellect. Am I an intellectual? The storytelling is layered with frequent twists, surprises, and often unresolved endings. Measured pacing with mental activity during the stories, as opposed to the more intense physical action common in traditional suspense novel. Again, the writing element. The tone is often chilling, edgy, disturbing, unsettling, moody, ominous, and foreboding. The writing style is often compelling, elegant, and stylistic in nature. See, I didn't know those are all the characteristics. That's really interesting. So, some recommendations I have for you. Of course, I already mentioned In My Dreams I Hold a Knife and The Last Housewife, both by Ashley Winstead. So, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, we have a university reunion after like 10 years. The main character goes back to university for a reunion. About 10 years ago, one of the key friends from the friend group died in mysterious circumstances, and they accuse the boyfriend, and it's a whole dramatic thing. And The Last Housewife, again, something dodgy happened at college, and the main character hears about a similar crime being committed via podcast, and kind of reinserts herself back into that situation. One by One by Ruth Ware, really good one. So this was about a company retreat in the mountains. When it's snowing, they're going skiing and they start dying one by one. Daisy Darker is a really good one. I really love this one. It's about a family who reunites at their grandma's like summer house or like cottage. I think it's not even summer house. I think she just lives there. But they reunite for like a goodbye party, like the grandma throwing herself like a I'm gonna die party. So they come to collect their inheritance. My Sister the Serial Killer is a really cool book. It's about 2 sisters. One of them is a serial killer. The other one has to deal with that. It's, okay, maybe the least fitting of this list. It's more of a comedy, really. But yes, there's still the element of like, well, we get caught and this is really messed up. My Dark Vanessa is a really good one. I don't know if this one also fits so much the psychological thriller part of it, but it's about this woman who was groomed as a child and abused, and she kind of recontextualized that as a loving relationship. So she has to kind of come to terms with that when other victims come to light. Rock, paper, scissors. That was a pretty good one about a marriage or married couple in the middle of this like snowed-in cottage, and the weird things that are happening. Verity, very disturbing. It's about this writer who died, I think. I think the writer died, and now this woman comes in and tries to finish the writer's book so that they could publish it posthumously and finish a series. And she gets involved with like the woman's husband and stuff, and it gets really messy real quick. Turn of the Key is a thriller about a nanny who goes to this like really secluded house to try to take care of these children, but they're super weird and creepy. So that's a pretty good one as well. Hopefully that's a really extensive list. I actually love psychological thrillers, so if you have any recs, give me a shout. But yeah, those are some of my recommendations. Does this look like I'm wearing world's craziest hat situation? So we finished another book, and by we I mean me. You did not work. So Those People Next Door by Kia Abdullah. So when I googled legal thriller, because that's the section we're in right now, this author pretty much came up exclusively. This author's books apparently what legal thrillers are about. So in those people next door, we follow married couple. They've been together like 20 years or something. They have an 18-year-old son, and they're a brown family moving into a new neighborhood. So it's set in the UK, and it's called Blenheim. Blenheim. That was it. Oop! I got a call. Anyway, we follow this family who moved to Blenheim, this like well-to-do neighborhood where everyone is white, and when they first couple days, weeks they're there, they start experiencing some questionable behavior from their neighbors, and it's basically about racism and insidious and nature it takes. But it's quite like, it was quite an impactful read, I would say. Like, it was very interesting because obviously we have those two families, because we also get a perspective from the other family, who are this white couple that lived there for like years. They have a 16-year-old son, so they kind of mirror each other quite well. And the escalation of prejudice and the violence and the incidents was troubling and definitely very thought-provoking, and I really liked how that was done. I think the writing was something I was most impressed with this book, because it was just so addicting. It was so easy to listen to. You just flew through that book, and the author made such a good attempt at showing different sides to people, because I don't feel like entirely like, whenever I'd be like, oh, this person's totally awful, they do something like nicer and redeemable, and or with other people, but then they go back to being shitty, and that doesn't excuse anything. So I think even it was kind of great to show that anyone has better and worse sides to them, and that just because you're not entirely a terrible person, that does not excuse your behavior, and does not mean that you can do whatever you want, and it doesn't absolve you of any guilt because you were nice once, or you don't display all of the terrible traits and stereotypes. So I really liked it. Then the ending really took me by surprise. I did not see it coming, and I think I didn't rate it last night because I didn't know what to give it, like in terms of star rating, because I just felt so depleted. I don't know why I was expecting some kind of happy ending from this book, but it's like a very depressing ending. It's a downer. It's a downer, and it kind of shows that even the best people can snap, and I appreciate that message and I respect it. It was hard to hear it. So I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. It was overall really strong read. So if you're like a fan of a legal drama, give it a shot, because it has the courtroom drama, it has all of that. So I think you'll be satiated. I've not read that many legal thrillers in my time. To me, a legal thriller will be a courtroom drama, or like something that where you see like here kind of the escalation of the violence or escalation of the situation, and then you also follow a trial. Like, that's usually how I've seen legal dramas. So something that's very similar to this book actually will be Little Fires Everywhere. So that's a book that's probably way more famous. So maybe if you enjoy Little Fires Everywhere, you will also enjoy Those People Next Door. That one is about, again, a small community, and a daughter and a mother come, and they're Black, and they come into this community and face prejudice. And then I would also recommend The Holdout, which is less what I described just now, but I would still kind of consider it a legal drama, I guess. So we follow a group of people, or we follow the main character, but then also kind of a group of people who were jury on a very prolific case. And I think they voted not guilty, if I remember correctly. And then now it's been like 10 years or something, like a long time has passed, and they're being made to reassess that verdict and reckon with what they've done. And I thought that was super interesting because I've never read anything or watched like something from perspective of jury, and I find jury to be such an interesting prospect. Maybe you have them in Poland, I really don't know. But when I found out like a bunch of people with no accreditation makes decisions about whether someone's guilty or not and they're legally binding, to me that was shocking, because I'm like, shouldn't like we leave it to professionals? But I kind of understand it as I've grown up. I kind of understand the purpose of the jury. I don't know if I want to be tried by one, but hopefully I'm not going to ever do anything bad enough to be tried by a jury. Those are the only kind of recommendations I have. I've read basically none other, but Kia Abdullah has a lot of other legal thrillers, so if you want to check those out, do, because I've heard they're really good. Alright, last book, a bit of a surprise, but I figured I took a thumbnail with it and it'd be a fun thing to talk about. So, The McMasters Guide to Homicide by Rupert Holmes, Volume 1, Murder Your Employer. I actually got this book on Twitter in some kind of raffle. I think I already told you that, but yeah, anyway, someone texted me like, hey, do you want a book? And I googled the guy and he seemed like a real person, so I gave him my address and I was like, yeah, send me the book. And he did, and I've got this book now, which is very exciting, so thank you to Headline. But yeah, this book is a thriller. I would kind of say so. I don't know what type of thriller this is, if I'm being honest, but it was fun. So we follow this school that teaches you how to murder people, or delete people, how they say it. So we follow Cliff, who tries to murder his boss, goes really badly. He gets caught by these guys that are like, hey, we have a secret benefactor who's paying for your way to go to this secret university thing where you can learn how to murder people and not get caught, and then your thesis will be you killing your employer. So we follow like 3 case studies. So this is written as if it was like I guess a school thing. So it has like a preface, and it's got a foreword, that's what I meant, and it's got pictures in it too. I actually had a lot of fun with this one. It was tongue-in-cheek, it was fun, it didn't take itself too seriously. I think learning about all of these, like, it had all these like tropes of school stuff, but turned on its head because it was murder. I just found that really funny, and it's not really a comedy, it's still quite tense. So you know who the murderer is, you don't know whether they will succeed in murdering who they're murdering and if they're gonna get caught. And you learn throughout the books why they want to kill the people they do, and they kind of tell you that 2 of the people were successful. What was it? So you learn about these 3 students and how they deleted whoever they needed to delete. So I had a lot of fun with it. It was written in this nice cheeky way. There's definitely space for sequels because it does say volume 1 and there's a way, although kind of how they finished, it could go either way. But not with these characters, so it would be probably like a series of companion novels almost. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I would recommend. I have no clue what the hell I could recommend to you that would be similar to this book. This book was wild. It was very weird. But I guess it's type of a dark academia, and the academia is dark, but you learn about dark stuff. The dark stuff doesn't come from the academia. So I think you need to ask yourself, does it count as academia? But anyway, that's just a bit of a bonus book. I hope you enjoyed this video. I feel like it's taken me, well, it has taken me a month to film the whole thing, but it was nice to have you guys hang out with me and discover the world of thrillers. I really hope you had a good time. If you did, if you could comment, like, and subscribe, I really appreciate it. It really helps me out. But that's it from me, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!